Okay, well that's really up to the landlord and tenant to agree. If the answer to that is either. If the amount is going to be written off, then obviously it cannot be relied upon. If there's a formal agreement between the parties that that rent simply will not become due, it's unlikely that it can be relied upon in proceedings. So just be mindful of that. If it's to be treated as a loan, again, so long as the terms of that are properly documented and it specifically provides within that agreement as to whether that loan essentially is to constitute almost a deferred rent or just purely a contractual loan outside the scope of the tenancy agreement, then either can be agreed. Now, for a landlord that potentially wants to assist their tenants by saying at the moment that we'll accept a reduced rent while the pandemic's in place, you may have a tenant that's been furloughed, etc. If that is the intention, then what you might want to consider is potentially an agreement with your tenant that you will not, that for the time being they can reduce the rent, but there will be a repayment proposal whereby it is still due as rent at a later date. And I think that too can be documented carefully. So the short answer to that is either. The practical advice is make sure it's documented and just think very, very carefully when you're agreeing a reduction, whether you want that reduction to mean that the tenant doesn't have that liability and as such will not be able to form the basis of a rent arrears claim, or whether the intention is to help them out in the short term, but strictly speaking, that rent liability will remain and can be enforced at a later stage. And I think so long as that's properly documented, either of those options are agreeable.